Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chat bots can then ask questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show. All right, there it is. I hit a button and then we record. Technology. It's amazing.
Ready to go. So excited.
Love it. So, hey, everyone, welcome. I can't wait to introduce you to my guest today. She is amazing. She's a very passionate marketer, and she's done it all, right? Brand development, marketing and comm strategy, tech, software, advertising, all these things, this whole budget management. There's so many things. And so we're gonna find out what's up in marketing these days and learn some strategies together. And one of the things she really loves is the idea of finding balance between getting that data, then also balancing it with your gut and the emotional intelligence side of things. So I'm excited to learn all these things. She's a growth manager and director of marketing and business development at Aronson. Carrie Hankey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Man, there's just so many things to say about you.
Yep.
That was that's the emoji that's like, what can I say?
I don't know what to say. Yeah, no. So yeah, I'm excited to dig in today and get to know you and go through this process. This is exciting.
Yeah, no, totally exciting. And I'm glad you're here. And it's our marketing leadership series. And we're going to start the show off the way we start every show. I'm going to pass you this thing. It's kind of heavy. Here we go. Okay. You got it? Here you go.
I got it.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Thor's hammer in your hands now. Smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception that just drives you crazy. You want to set the record straight once and for all.
I'm excited about this question. And I've heard so many myths like listening to your show. But the one myth that I feel like that has followed me throughout my entire marketing career has been that marketing is the process of making things look pretty.
Hey.
And I think, and I think, if you take a look at our times and kind of consider like what that really means right now, like if you think strategic marketing during the COVID-19 pandemic is going to, keep your business from failing, like you're wrong, right? Like that's not the right solution. So I think when people say that, what they really mean is, can you help make sure that this piece of collateral or thought leadership piece is on brand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. And that is an element of marketing and it is important. But the idea of like marketing always be that department where people kind of come, not at a strategic level, but to basically like bring the colors and the logo to put their stamp of approval on it. I think that
Yeah.
that's just a myth that needs to be busted.
Yeah, it's like marketing is the tactical task rabbit shop, just
Yeah.
running around with, you know, colors and ink and markers, and we're going to make things pretty and on brand, and then we're going to disappear like magic branding fairies.
Yeah, right. And it's an element of marketing, like I said, but
True.
it's not really the right way to use a strategic marketing department when you have a lot of talent there that can do so many strategic things.
Totally. And like you said, like now is the time to actually use marketing, not this illusion of it. Why do you think people consider marketing this like, you know, fancy shop? I don't where did
I
that
don't
come
think
from?
I don't think that they understand like the data and analytics piece of marketing. I think,
Uh,
it's easy to associate marketing with like, brand colors and tone and those types of things. Like, people identify a brand with a website and like all of that is important.
right.
But if you give marketing a seat at the table during a strategy session where we can ask questions like, who's the core audience? What are you trying to convey to this audience? What are your goals in reaching this audience? Then I think that team can kind of help build better deliverables for like an overall campaign and rather be like the go-to for, like you said, a task,
Mm-hmm.
a thought leadership piece or such.
Right. It's like, it seems like marketing has this overall view of things. Like we see it from like the 10,000-foot view, whereas a lot of the other departments are in their little silos. Not that
Yeah,
they're bad silos. We need everyone's silo, but like everyone's doing their thing, head down. I got to close this lead. I got to
yeah,
balance this checkbook or deliver this product or service or code. But no
right,
one's taking a step back. Like you said, like, okay, who do we want to talk to? Are they
right,
our ideal audience, or should we talk to someone different? Like
right.
no one else is asking those questions.
I think to your point too, if you look at like the structure of an organization, so the organization that I work for now, Aronson, we're part of a core operations team, and our operations team really touches like all of the other departments and service areas in the organization. And there are things that we learn by working in operations and with all of our industry and service groups that can apply elsewhere. So we're this kind of like collection of all things Aronson. And if we are leveraged appropriately, we can bring all of that expertise across all of our other departments and service areas. And I feel like make a
Mm.
bigger impact when we have a seat at the strategic table.
You know, does it feel like the maybe you've got it figured out so it doesn't, but it can easily be like chicken and the egg. Like, how do you get a seat at the table if they don't understand what you do? And then if they don't understand what you do, then like, how do you get out of that cycle so that you do get a seat at the table?
Badger.
Badger, I like it.
Yeah. No, I think it's being results based. So I think like there's a lot of marketing sometimes that can't be attributed to like a tactic, for instance. Like you can't
Right.
always tie success back to your strategy. But in the cases and instances where you can set up a campaign and map that out and kind of get the data that supports that your initiative did well, and you can articulate how that happened, the more times you do that, I feel like the more times you prove your worth and your value. And eventually somebody says, oh, well, maybe we should bring this person into the room to talk about this at a strategic level instead of saying, here, why don't you bring this to the finish line?
Right. Prove that value. I like how you said that. Like you proving that value over and over again,
Yeah.
like a badger. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this happened here. Let's show you this. Let's show you this, and never
Yeah.
quit on that. And eventually, they're like, maybe we need to get their input on this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow, wow. Well, that's cool. What would be like the first step, right? People, because let's say someone's listening to this and they are legit the print shop for the sales team right now. They
Yeah.
they make binders and collateral, and they get to do content every now and then, but it's like they are the print shop. They might as well be FedEx Kinkos at this point. What
Yeah.
would be like a good first step for them to get out of that?
of the people that's actually executing on like the content production.
Well, yeah, like they're doing that, but they're definitely not the seat at the table, and they're definitely the pretty fancy makers and their company. That's how everyone views them at the organization. Is there like a
Yeah,
first step? Is there something you
that's
do for?
yeah, like I think that that's like a deep, complicated question. I
Yeah.
think maybe step one would be like asking about like who is this project for? Like who's the
Mm,
audience, and digging into the messaging and offering support for how to make the content better from that perspective.
right.
Maybe that's step one.
Asking those questions,
Yeah,
just
asking the
finding out more.
questions. Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
goal? What's the goal of this? What are we trying to, is this a growth-based campaign? Are you trying to like acquire leads? Is this, something that's focusing on client experience, customer experience? Is that
Right.
really, does this piece align with that? It's kind of asking like the goals question and then evaluating the content from the perspective of, is this really going to help us meet our goals?
Yeah, that's so true. I
And
like that.
then I guess the tertiary piece of that is, do we have metrics in place to help us track if this is successful?
As a step two, to be able to show that ROI metrics.
Right. And ensuring that you have like the systems in place, whether it's through like market intelligence, like with your B2B sales team, or if it's your CRM where you actually have like an automated um, campaign running where you can track it. It's just
Right.
ensuring that you have it properly set up so that you do have the ROI metrics in place.
Huge, right? Because then you can actually
Yeah.
point to some numbers. It's not just good feelings and a story, but like a story with like, here's some data. To your
Right.
point about the balance of the data and the feeling, like here's some actual data that you can look at to say
Right.
this is what we did.
Data and the market intelligence piece, because some of it is, if you have a really good sales team that does a great job at like tracking kind of like their processes,
Mm-hmm.
and you're using a CRM, so you can kind of quantify what you're putting into it. Sometimes you don't need like the hard, oh, this converted to a sale, right? Like sometimes you
Mm,
just need to be able to see that a relationship is progressing, and that is also success, and you do that through like your sales team.
right. Absolutely. Okay. I'm writing those down. Yeah, that makes total sense. Sometimes you can track it, sometimes you can't. But then if sales sees that relationship moving forward too, that and they're like, wow, thank you, marketing. That's a success as well.
Right, exactly.
Now you mentioned a couple of times the idea of just taking a step back to say, who is this for? How do you get to know your audience? How do you get to know your customers? What's your take on that? You start a new position tomorrow, or let's say you just got to, and it's a Aronson. Is that
Aronson, yeah.
Aronson?
Yeah,
I keep saying it the wrong way. I don't know why. And it's like built in.
that's all right.
Aronson. You get to
Aronson.
Aronson like today. How do you
Yep.
figure out who their customer base is? And I know it's kind of cheating because you already know them, but like, how would you go about that, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, no, I think I still have a long way to go because financial services, professional services rather, I had limited experience
Mm,
in it when I started at Aronson. So like I really focused kind of like listening internally, right? So asking to be part of meetings, meeting with like our industry group leads because we have 5 core industry focuses, and understanding like how they interact with our clients, what our clients' needs are, and then just repeating that over and over because what we do is so complicated and I don't have a financial services background. So I think it's you really kind of start internally and then you start paying attention to engagement rates on your campaigns.
mm,
And you pay attention to, any feedback that you're getting from customers or prospects in the marketplace. And you kind of like aggregate all that information and
right.
that helps to inform like kind of how to move forward.
Got it. Those internal conversations can be really helpful. Being a fly on the
Helpful
wall.
and hard.
Yeah, especially if it's some tech. I mean, what does Aronson do?
You mean from an industry focused perspective?
Yeah, just in general, because you're saying like different companies. Sometimes it's, I mean, Lyft, we kind of get it. Oh, you move people from here to there, but like other
Yeah.
companies, we're not so lucky. We have these like very
Yeah.
interesting products and services.
Yeah, so Aronson's broken up into 3 core service areas, so assurance, consulting, and tax. We provide those services, and then we
Got
have
it.
5 industry verticals. So we focus in construction and real estate, nonprofit and trade associations. Um, of course, I'm going to take forever to get to this. Professional services, technology, and then government contracting, which is our largest service area. So we have like a mix of everything going on
Wow.
across those industries, and really like you can talk to one partner who focuses in government contracting, but there's overlap in the service area. So what they provide to customers is different depending on who they're servicing. So
Wow.
it's kind of complicated.
How do you keep that straight? How do you keep, like, 5 different verticals, 3 different services, all 15 different options or more? How do you
Yeah.
keep that straight in the marketing side?
I think we just rely, it's really, really complicated. So we
Yeah.
have some tenured employees both on the marketing and the BD sales side,
Yeah.
and they're really great at their craft. So I rely heavily on the team that I work with, and then the industry group leads within our partner group who are kind of the conduit from like their partner groups and the operations team.
You know, I think verticals is a smart approach. It's like you're talking to them in their own language. Any
Yeah.
tips for anyone if they're kind of just blasting to everyone right now and they're like, I should probably address some verticals in my company. Like, how do you discover them, or how do you really take care of people in the different verticals?
Yeah. So do you mean internally, like internal customer service?
No, more of like on the marketing side. Do you go after people in the certain verticals, and do you have like content specifically for them, or?
Yeah, we do. And I think it's evolving.
Hmm.
I think when I started with the organization last August, we didn't do a lot of target marketing. Like
Mm,
we called subscriber lists, made up of our customers, but also our prospects. And we did a good job of like ensuring that like tax notifications went out to all of our
mhm.
subscribers, but like didn't necessarily do a great job of kind of segmenting our population and delivering content that was appropriate for specific industries. So I think that we've come a long way in the way that we're approaching targeted marketing, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're really relying like on our partners to kind of deliver to us like what are the thought leadership pieces that should be developed? What campaign should we be deriving and executing for the year? How frequently might this change? And then we're also relying on our business development team to kind of tell us the same thing. So we're getting it both from the partner side and then the business development side.
That's cool. Do you
Yeah.
ever, like, especially when it's something complicated, do you talk to customers directly? And if so, how does that work?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting a little bit better. We're actually, we're great on a partner level, reaching out to our clients and staying in touch with them. But we're
Hmm.
actually getting ready to launch a client service type of initiative where
Oh, cool.
we kind of delve into a little bit more and we focus on some key relationships and kind of like, reach out to them more often, maybe even do some surveys so that we're getting more intel more frequently from them. So we are delivering the content that's relevant to them and the customer service.
Cool. Cool. That makes sense. Did I hear earlier that you had said that you manage both the SDR side and the marketing side?
Yes.
And how do you do that? And do you have like
Yeah.
9 arms
Both
and
sides of my brain. Yeah.
like a time travel device?
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times in my career. So where I was before, I was in marketing and communications, and then BD was an offshoot of that, but there was like a supervisor in a position with me that kind of handled like the day to day of BD, and then I handled the day to day of marketing, and
Yeah.
it worked well. But like you kind of need like two leaders handling
Mm,
both sides of the house, in my opinion. But then before that, I also handled marketing and BD for a nonprofit trade association when I worked in DC, and it's hard.
yeah.
It's hard because it really uses two sides of your brain, and there's really like you have the marketing funnel, like and your marketing team's like really responsible for generating leads and like developing a presence and establishing a presence in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And then BD, if you can focus them on relationships and kind of like the end of the funnel and even client relations for that matter, if you have some key relationships, I feel like that's the only way I can handle both at the same time.
Interesting. So one is that bigger picture, showing up out there in the world and the ecosystem, and
Yeah,
getting some interest created, and then, which we kind of all know, but then so different on the BD side where it's not so macro, it's more one-on-one relationship building and
right. In
making phone
some
calls.
Right. And some like, having a presence with like key association partners, like I would say that that's a
Mm,
business development responsibility.
sure.
Um, handling our like sponsorship type of relationships, like that's what the BD team does from like a brand exposure standpoint. But besides that, they really focus on kind of like developing, cultivating, and handling like key relationships.
Do you have like certain KPIs or metrics you hold that team accountable for?
Yeah, I think so. That's still evolving for
Yeah.
us, I would say. And it's tough too. So we don't like Aronson as a B2B organization, we don't focus on like hard sales. We focus on
Right.
relationships. And so the approach is really different than places where I've worked in the past. So for them, we try not to focus on like numbers per se. We focus on like the strategy and the initiatives
Mm.
and the intel that we get back. And those are kind of measurements for that team.
Right. Right. Okay, that makes sense. You can't always have like a factory going, and that may not be the right, especially when it's dealing with money or it's dealing with
Right.
relationship is could be much more valuable. But to your point, you can't always, it's not always a metric you're not tracking.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially right now. Like, I mean, times are so crazy.
Mhm.
We actually stopped like our marketing kind of like, not that we had like a hard marketing strategy necessarily or BD strategy in the marketplace,
Yeah.
but like we kind of put everything on pause for a couple of weeks until we could get our feet back under us and realize like, hey, what can we be providing to our customers? What are prospects looking for right now? And
Right.
it's not the, hey, can I get a meeting with you ask, right? It's the, here's some
Mm.
thought leadership that I think is really important for you to be able to process like your PPP loan application.
Right.
So we put a complete pause on some of our marketing and BD efforts until we could kind of think strategically about like how we should respond in current times.
It's so smart to do that, right? Because so many people, if you leave your automations on right now, you
Right.
can look like a complete idiot. Or worse, if you invoke the COVID word in your email campaigns and
Yeah.
aren't trying to be helpful. It's like, unless you're a nurse or you're going to help me get my PPP, like I really don't want to take a meeting and I
No.
don't want to read your stupid email. I'm going to unsubscribe. So you got to really be
Right.
careful. Yeah.
I know. Exactly.
Interesting. So it's not, can I get a meeting? It's more around helpful content. And it
Yeah.
sounds like your different thought leaders in the organization are giving you some of this content that you can then get out to the masses.
Yeah, they've been churning through it. It's been kind of remarkable. I think that we had like 100 blog posts like in the course of like a 2-week, 3-week period.
Did you like email them all out, or what did you do with all of
Well,
them?
we posted, so we had to take a different approach where we kind of like bundled. We broke everything down by industry. So we have like a core, we have an advisory services hub and a COVID hub, and we like put all of the content there in
That's
categories.
smart.
uh, we had to like figure that out on a daily basis because like first we started getting content and then we were like, well, what are we going to do with this? We're like, well,
Right.
obviously it needs to go on the website. So it's like literally we were doing like live website updates for like 2 weeks straight where the website looked a little bit different every day because we were like we had to think differently about it
Yeah.
based on what was being kind of like thrown at us, and it was all relevant, helpful content.
Right.
um, so it was just kind of an evolving process.
Yeah, and that's great that it's helpful content too. It's not like the rubbish that no one's gonna actually read. It's things that they could actually, it can
Yeah,
help them right now.
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's smart. I mean, I'm thinking of like even Cheshire Impact. We're going the PPP route, just trying to get that in, and I've seen helpful content, which I remember. One is like a forgiveness calculator, and another thing was like a do you qualify, or like what
Yeah,
you need to take if you don't have people that you can like. Thankfully, there's really smart people in our team that can like they're
yeah,
handling it. But if I didn't have those people in the team, you would really and even then, every time we got a resource, we're all sending it around internally, like, "Hey, check out this document. Check out this document."
right,
Try to get that information out. It's smart, and then put it all in like a center of excellence or some kind of a center,
right,
so that you're not sending 30 emails a day.
right. I don't think, I mean, I'm sure we didn't get it perfectly right, but we were mindful of the process
Oh,
and the
totally.
team was highly collaborative.
Yeah,
And everybody worked like really hard to kind of figure things out, you know, as quickly
yeah,
as we could because we knew that some of the resources were really critical.
right, right. See, now when I see emails saying, "Hey, have you applied for the PPP?" I was like, if you
Yeah,
if you're getting this email now and trying to apply now, the chances are
yeah,
not likely that you're going to get anything.
yeah.
I think Bank of America had something like 100,000 applicants.
I can't even. I have a neighbor actually that works in banking, and with the second round of the PPP, I guess there were restrictions that
Mm,
were put on like processing counts per hour. So he was like
right.
working until like 2 o'clock in the morning to help the bank process those loan applications because there were restrictions on the quantities per hour that they could.
Is your
So
friend a marketer or just actual like a banker in the
he's just
banking?
in banking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We've got some good people. We work with some banks that we work with, and
Hmm.
a lot of the marketers were like, temporarily, I'm a loan officer.
Right, exactly.
It's
I
like
know.
all hands on deck.
I
So yeah,
know.
it's also interesting too that, there's a lot of businesses instantly, like restaurants. Like, I'm glad I'm not a restaurateur. I know some friends that are, and it's like, that is rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's support those people. But other industries and other types of customers are still buying, right? So it's one of those
right.
myths that, oh, no one's buying anything. We're all locked in our homes, and no, actually, there's still some industries, not travel, but the financial
Yeah,
world. There's a lot of different areas where people do need that marketing to still happen. So I think it was
yeah,
smart that you sort of paused for a second to say, like, okay, what do we need to be doing here? And then just went crazy to try to help people out.
yeah. That's a good thing.
So marketing automation, what's your take on it? How do you do tech, marketing automation, or any
Yeah,
other tech and marketing without losing your soul? Without losing, you got that overall strategy, you get the big picture, and then
yeah.
along comes some technology, shiny new thing. How do you yourself, like, mentally keep them sorted and then figure out how you build on that without, say, just going crazy in the tech side?
Yeah, I think that that's such a good question. And I don't have like the perfect answer for you, I don't think. And
Right.
I think every company I've ever worked for has done it a little bit differently. I've seen a lot of successes and a lot of failures. And currently in my current position, I think that we can become better at it by just leveraging like our systems better
Hmm.
than how we leverage them now. But a success story that I have for marketing automation is where I worked before, Maryland Auto Insurance.
Mm.
We set up like a lead distribution system. So we had like our call center talking to our CRM, and our CRM handling our B2B relationships, the people that sold our policies. And we set that up, and it was like a program that we launched, and in like 2 years we generated like $4 million in sales, right? So like that's an
Wow.
example of a success. But then I've been in other companies where we just don't leverage it at all. So I think it's understanding like the systems that you're using and ensuring you're using them to their capacity, and then designing kind of like small projects so that you can like implement things along the way. Because if you want to carve out like a huge like a CRM implementation and then launch a bunch of marketing automation campaigns all at once, like that's a huge thing to kind of like chew at one time.
Hmm.
So it's parsing it all out and setting reasonable goals with the systems that you have. And if you recognize that you don't have a great system, it's setting up a process for change, which is also, I would say, equally as challenging.
Right. Right. I mean, that's smart. Parsing out into small projects, little chunks, like bite-sized chunks you can get after, not trying to
Yeah,
eat the whole elephant in one day.
right.
Go after it consistently, deliberately.
Yeah.
Smart. Where do you see the future going these days with marketing and tech and all these different things? Anything coming around the corner that's got you intrigued, or like, maybe we should watch out for that in good or bad ways?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't say like specific technology I'm watching, but I would say buckets of technology I'm trying to pay attention to.
Okay.
I think a couple things. So one would be like mobile technology.
Okay.
Like I think so many firms, both B2B and B2C, have struggled to leverage like what mobile has to offer. And I'm not just talking about just apps, but like user experience on mobile. Um, so many times I like go to use my cell phone for like a grocery order or, you know,
Yeah.
something, and mobile technology falls short. I'm like, how did you design an interface that doesn't even work when you hit submit? I feel
Oh,
like big
geez.
brands that you would expect to have success with mobile user experience, some of them don't. So I think that marketing, I'm hoping that technology really progresses with mobile down the road.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
B2C example, but there are B2B examples as well.
no, but it's I mean, it's a practical point, right? And sometimes I think when we add newfangled things like, oh, let's add chat to a website, and then it's
Yeah,
like, have you considered what it looks like on your mobile,
yeah,
or does it take up the screen? And then what drives me crazy is when you can't actually get to the thing, or you can't
yeah,
see it because some other frame it, and it's like all someone had to do was just pull it up on the website and be like,
right.
is this workable? No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if marketers just don't know, like maybe they don't focus on the user experience when they're building out websites sometimes, or if
That's
it's
a
like,
good
I don't know
point.
whose job that is. If it's like the hiring person, the advertising agency, I have no idea, but I've seen it done wrong so many times that, we pay attention to it whenever we have to build things out on our site. We
Right.
just built out a website for our Aronson Capital Partners. They're an M&A division of Aronson.
Nice.
And like we had to cross that bridge when we were talking about, oh, well, what happens when a user wants to reach out to, one of our partners in that division? Like, what is that experience like? Are we going to do a click to call feature? Like, what are our mobile users like? So we had to like go through that process, and we ended up designing something that we thought that would be useful for our specific clients. But I've noticed that not everybody does that.
Yeah, that is interesting. That not, by the way, cool site.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Are you on
yeah,
it?
I like the backgrounds, like all connected world. It's
Yeah,
really cool. Um,
that's
but you're
funny.
right. Like my thought when you're saying that was like, who owns it? And if not marketing, nobody. It sounds like.
Well,
And if marketing's too busy and because they don't have enough bandwidth, then sorry, no one's looking at customer experience, and then you get like the Tom's thing that happens.
right. Yeah, so I think it's like at the onset of a digital project like that, like
Mm,
identify like who owns the client experience. Like one would probably expect an advertising agency to help you navigate through that, but I think ultimately it's the brand's responsibility to make sure that the user experience is what it should be.
right, but it brings a good point. I mean, not every company has a client experience department,
Right.
so
Yeah.
someone needs to be mindful of that, and like, that's what
Right.
we'll have to do in marketing too. Is like, let's think about this. What is it like between this and this? Are there any gaps in this process from
Right.
start to
Exactly.
finish? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I know we've gotten so used to like Netflix and Amazon. It just works. It just
Yeah.
I can just buy things. It already knows my credit card. I just leave it in there, and it just shows up. Kind
Right.
of magic, really. But it just shows up, and you're like, okay. So we're so used to that, so that if you go to try to, I do kind of cringe sometimes when I have to buy something not on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's true though.
yeah, like Tom's, for instance, or any of these other ones where it's like, have you got it figured out? I mean, I bought a hat the other day, one of those like clover hats with the cool clover,
Yeah.
and thankfully their process was smooth. But thankfully, all I was buying was a hat. So if
Yeah.
it's complicated buying a hat, it'd be like, look, if you guys can't handle selling a hat, please don't sell anything else. But thankfully, they had it very smooth. The thing goes here and this and that. It was all just it worked. But that
Yeah.
could be a problem having friction for either the B2B or B2C process. That friction in there just gets in everyone's way.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
I have two more technology things for you.
Oh, yes. Are you smashing? Are you best
No, I'm
practices? Tell
not.
me. What's
I'm
up?
just throwing some things out there because I just wanted
Yeah.
to get your take and talk about them a little bit. So one is like the idea of data visualization.
Yeah. First of all, is
So
it data or is it data?
I say data. What do you say?
I don't know. Well, I messed up
Aronson.
Aronson. So I'm sure I'm going to mess up data. I think I say data a lot. What do
Yeah.
you say?
Is that a New England thing though?
It could be. It very
Yeah.
well could be.
Yeah.
Um, Data. Also, Starship Enterprise had somebody named Data on there for a while. So I don't know. Yeah. Data. Data does sound smarter though, doesn't it? I think it
Does it?
does.
I don't know.
I think it does. Okay, so
I've always said
we're
it like
gonna go
that.
with data. What do you want to do today? Do you want to do data today?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about data visualization. So I feel like
Yeah.
I think I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation like the importance of being able to like articulate like your marketing strategy
Yes.
from like the strategy to the execution and then ROI. And I
Totally.
think sometimes like when you're delivering a presentation, like it's really hard to dig into like core marketing metrics, right? Like engagement metrics and like cost per click and a lot of people that don't work in marketing every day, like it's really hard to kind of get those points across. And I personally haven't used, but I've had folks on my team that have used Microsoft Power BI, and
Mm.
it's a really powerful tool if you know how to use it. But I feel like you need like a PhD in order to navigate the tool itself.
Yeah. BI people are a rare breed.
They're rare, but when they
Yeah.
can use the tool, like what that system can produce is really pretty amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
So
What kind of things have you seen it produce or seen these people create?
Just in a former position, we used to send like kind of like our monthly reports to the board, and so we tracked like engagement metrics from our website, from our campaigns, but then also like that lead distribution program that I mentioned to you, like what our conversion rates are and all of that. And then we also were able to dig into like demographic data and like layer
Right.
in just like any data point that we wanted. We could use that tool to layer in whatever we needed to tell, like whatever store we were trying to tell.
Sure.
So
I could see
yeah.
that, like, it's helpful to take the numbers off of like rows and columns using BI tools, or just really visualize that for everyone. Like, it helps tell
Yeah.
the story.
Right. And I haven't done a lot of searching. So I was just wondering if you have like experience with any data visualization tools, or if that's come up whenever you've done these podcasts in the past.
It's really interesting. I think it's probably something we should talk to more people about, because I don't, um, yeah, I don't think it's really been talked about enough. Um, I think we talked a lot about people not having the right data, or
Yeah.
having dirty data.
Right.
Dirty data. Um, but like, yeah, how to get the numbers off a page
Yeah.
and to really convey the story to the board or to whoever needs to see it, because they're your audience too, and we do so
Right.
much time work customizing our message for prospects, hopefully, but we also need to, think about how we internally communicate. And to your point earlier about winning a seat at the table, you need to convince some people, you need to show them some things that they can understand. And I think visualization comes in there.
Yeah, I think so too.
I do know that Salesforce has been making like huge purchases around that area.
They
They,
have.
gobbled up Tableau for like
Yeah.
billions of dollars.
Right.
Just like, hey, let's write them a check. Write them a check, guys. Billion, 1 0, lots of zeros. Here you go. You're part of the Salesforce family. And I know that's a huge, one of the
Yeah.
top tools for data visualization. I don't know where they go with that, but I also know they're doing the B2B marketing analytics and the
Yeah.
Einstein analytics with Salesforce and Pardot. And it's interesting to think about that. And I think in the past you would layer on a tool, but now
Yeah.
with the marketing analytics, you can start seeing those really colorful graphs that you couldn't see in the past. Because I think in the past, Pardot reports were kind of what they were, and Salesforce could be kind of neat with dashboards, but they weren't that sort of customizable visualization that you're talking about, where you can actually dive in. And if somebody, God
Yeah.
forbid, somebody has a question, in the old days, this is the report you see, we get back to you in 3 days with a new one. But like now you can change a drop down and it'll just change the whole report in front of people. So I think
Yeah.
things are definitely changing in that front for some reason.
I should take a look at Tableau. I remember when I
Yeah.
was at a former position, we looked at it and we just didn't use it for some reason, but we were using Salesforce. But yeah, I should take a look.
Yeah. And especially now that they're the same company.
Yeah.
It's I know it's probably, I don't know if it's number one, but probably if not now, will soon will be number one. There's also Domo. Do you ever bump into that?
No. Mm-mm.
Domo is this it's a BI tool as well.
I'm looking it up now too.
Yeah, and the only reason it's funny marketing wise, the only reason I know about them is because at Salesforce events and Dreamforce, remember one year at Dreamforce, they were giving out Bose headsets, like 300 whatever dollars. All you had
Oh,
to do was watch a demo.
that's amazing.
I'm
I
like,
love
wow.
Dreamforce.
What's that?
I love Dreamforce. I haven't been to it in a
Yeah.
couple years, but it's such a good conference.
The years you've been, who was the band? That's how I keep track of what year.
Oh, I don't even remember.
You
When
don't
was the
remember?
last time I was in DC? Do you remember?
Hmm. Oh, wait. Dreamforce is always in San Fran.
So there was a Dreamforce conference though in
Oh, there's like
DC.
a world tour. They do like the world tour.
Yeah, so it must have been
Yeah.
an offshoot.
It's like a 1 day Dreamforce version. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Totally.
that's when
Um,
actually so I was with my team at the time, and that's when we dreamed up the lead distribution program that I mentioned earlier on
oh
the
wow.
call.
Was
Because
it
it was
at the
such,
event or just
we were at the event and we were just like, oh, how are we going to, because we were like launching a new website and like our first ever marketing campaign, advertising campaign and such. And we are like, oh, well, this is how we should handle our leads. Oh, well, what do we need to do that? And it just kind of like all clicked at that conference. So
wow.
anyway, yeah, go Dreamforce.
Right. And that's something like the reports will never actually show, but good feedback for the
Yeah,
Dreamforce team. Like, hey, you like inspired some
you did
creativity
that.
and some innovation and all
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think definitely check out Tableau. And then also the Einstein, Salesforce, and I mean, there's the whole cloud called Einstein is like
Hmm.
there. Not only is it visualization of data, but it's also kind of they're building in predictive lead scoring, and they're building in all sorts of futuristic AI. I know there's people are throwing that word around, but they're
I don't know enough about it to talk about it though.
right, right. I know enough that there no one's building like Skynet. No one's building like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
They're just like tools to help people find patterns. Uh,
Hmm.
and yet they're calling it AI, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. But some of that is happening in Einstein, Salesforce's Einstein cloud, where all the other things tie into it, and you're actually able to start bringing in data from other places and have it
Okay.
tie into Salesforce data.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'll have to take
yeah,
a look at it. All right. The
definitely.
last piece of technology, if I'm not getting us too off the
No,
rails,
totally. We're just hanging out. We're
it
hanging
may,
out.
good, perfect. Maybe this ties into AI to a certain degree, but it's contact management and the
Mm,
evolution of that, like how our systems are going to handle that over time. Right now, we use a tool called One Place, and it's built on the Salesforce platform.
okay.
Um, and we have like all of these like contact management like add-ons in order to get our contacts in appropriately into our system. And I'm just like, why doesn't our system just do this? Like it seems to be so complicated, like how we have to use multiple systems to manage our contacts. Like there's got to be an evolution at some point that makes it easier.
Yeah, and you have this. So this one place sits on top of Salesforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this interesting challenge because Salesforce itself, like vanilla Salesforce, is so 1,000% customizable
Hmm.
that you can do anything you want. And then to make that efficient, because sometimes when you have limited options, there's just we could do anything. What do we do? There's some of these things that sit on top of the platform, and they can kind of like build stuff out for you. But the problem is you start adding a bunch of those on, and then and it's like, well, how do we? I think a lot of people what they're
Yeah.
doing is now once they've put in time with some of these things, they're using that setup and those type of things to make requirements for building it out custom themselves on
Hmm.
Salesforce regular. So that way they
Right.
don't have to pay for the app add-on, but they're using that as like, okay, we did like when they did this, we didn't like when they did that, and then they're putting it all into default objects in Salesforce so that
Hmm.
you don't have all these weird customizations. So then you go to try to connect to something, it doesn't want to connect because you're using this super customized thing.
Right.
And yeah, the challenge really as we're shifting to like ABM is just thinking more about groups of people and teams. Do you have a lot of individuals as customers, or do you have like organizations that you
We
sell
have
to?
organs. Yeah. So we're B2B primarily.
B2B. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
primarily. So we have our customers are usually a company and then client contacts within a company.
Got it. Yeah. And so in those situations, like it's like, well, what happens when three different people come in from that account? If you don't have a process in place, then you end up with like three versions of that company, and like the tracking can be weird and it's hard to find the right people. We had
Yeah.
one group we were working with. This was a couple of years back where they kind of reached out to us because one of the problems they had is this was like a medical company, and they kept buying other medical companies, and so they would sell like $1 million hospital equipment type things, but they had this issue that where they couldn't see what everyone else saw because every product they had, the big $1 million product, everyone they had its own sales team, and each sales team wanted like a lead person object. Even if they're already in the system, they wanted a lead to kind of, so they were doing it wrong, but that's what they wanted in sales, and marketing was kind of just, to your point earlier, if you don't stick up for yourself, they're just sort of going with it. And so what ended up happening was this one customer bought this $1 million piece of equipment, and the very next day got cold called by two other people at that same company, different departments, different sales teams,
Yeah.
and it treated that person like a cold call, like a lead that's never heard of that company. Like,
I'm
hey, have you
cringing.
heard of us? And the guy was first, he laughed, and he was kind of like, as he's sharing the story, like indignant because it was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just
Yeah.
literally spent $1 million with you guys yesterday.
Right.
You have no idea. Like,
That's crazy.
really?
But that's what I mean. Like it's
Yeah.
this idea of contact management and really kind of like understanding the contact ecosystem and how your users should be using an interface to manage those relationships
Yeah.
and track everything like you just said. Like that's like I think that there are huge challenges for many companies, big and small, when it comes to that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And the other day, like a couple days after that incident, I went to visit another company in health and life sciences who was doing it right, and they had none of the stress and none of the crazy, none of the worry that that other company had because they were doing it right, and they could
Right.
see that 360-degree view of the customer where they knew they had, they had bought from this department, that department, and I could see like when you have 3 or 4 different services,
Yeah.
somebody could buy from you in different ways, but maybe they're not all engaged with you across the board. Maybe just part. Maybe, but it'd be great to know for everyone to be on board. Like, okay, they're working with us on tax. Are they
Right.
working with us on this other thing? And if not, maybe
Right.
we can do some marketing to get them there. But let's not
Right.
treat them like they don't know us at all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
Yep. So
I've seen process really help with that. Just map out that buyer process, that buyer journey, just to say like, okay, what is it like? And to your point, the customer experience, just map
right.
it out and
Yeah.
make a few small changes. Like one instance was people were individuals didn't make new accounts. There was a certain team that was responsible for making new accounts because most of the accounts were already in there. So they're like, if you want to make a new account, somebody else has to look at it and then approve it. So that
Hmm.
there wasn't just 30 people all making new accounts. Half of them were duplicates, and then you have to try to get rid of
Right.
duplicates behind the scenes. No. There was a little approval process in front just to make sure they weren't creating duplicates up front.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So I mean, we've just been chatting about a whole bunch of marketing and crazy here. Like, who are you? Can you take us back, like the little days? What was it like growing, like little Carrie? Did you always know you
Yeah.
were going to be in marketing? And what was it like? Where'd you grow up? And take us through, like you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I little Carrie, huh? So I grew up in
Yeah.
Western Maryland, and when I
Okay.
tell people from this, so I live in the Annapolis area now. When I tell people in like the DC metro and the Annapolis region that I'm from Western Maryland, they're like, "Oh, Frederick, Maryland," which is like 120 miles away from where I live. I didn't even get close to like I'm in like the Maryland is like that has like that skinny part. So like I'm
Yeah.
from like that skinny tiny area, and the left they call it panhandle of the state.
Got it. So you're like
Yeah,
that way, but not that much that way. And so
yeah,
that's like the close. Is there anything closer? You can be like, no, I'm actually that city.
yeah.
They're like, they have no
Yeah,
idea what it is.
right. So I'm from a pretty small town called Cumberland, Maryland, and very rural area. I spent a lot of time outdoors, a lot of time playing sports. I have always had a passion for art, and then I went to
Nice.
school at West Virginia Wesleyan. Um, I studied actually. I was in pre-med for like a year, and I was like, I can't do that. I've always had this
Where'd
struggle of
that
like
come from? Yeah.
right side of my brain with left side of my brain, and it's like
Okay.
passion for art and fun and science, creativity, but then
Hmm.
also like data and analytics and science. So I started out and I was like, I can't do this, and then quickly got into graphic design, and that's what my primary degree is in.
Was there some
um,
moment where you're like dissecting a cat and you're like, this is bullshit. I don't want
I
to do
just
this.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that exactly,
Right.
but it was definitely like, I don't know, to make a career of that, right? Like, you have to be in school for like 8 years
Yeah.
plus, and like,
Forever.
I was like, I can't do that. I'm going to be ready after 4 years. I know I'm going to be ready. And
Right.
so I was already taking like fine art classes. So I was like, let me just see what this
Nice.
design thing is about. And I just like hopped over. Like, I didn't know anything about it, and it just stuck. So
Wow.
yeah,
And you'd
yeah.
always been doing kind of art all throughout growing up and just kind of,
Fine art, I mean, like painting and drawing and
yeah.
all of those types of things, like expressing myself in those types of ways. But like I never even really understood what graphic design was. It wasn't big when I went to school,
Got it.
not in high school anyway. So yes, I did that in college, and then after college I started working for like an architecture firm. And at that moment I was like handling some like day-to-day processes of the firm, and
Yeah.
then they started incorporating me into some like business development type presentations, so I was handling client presentations, the development of such. And then from there I was like, oh well, this kind of is marketing. um
Yeah.
I worked for like a fine art gallery after that doing the same thing, like business development and sales, and like I established a website for the art gallery I worked for, within the first year of working for them. And it was like everything I kept doing was kind of like building to this like marketing portfolio.
Right.
Spent a little bit of time in construction working for a general contractor in Maryland, and then a nonprofit trade association in construction. I spent almost 5 years in that industry.
Did you ever think of just like being an artist full time?
I think which is technical, the right side or the left side?
I think left is the logical side, but I'll
Is the
definitely.
logical.
Yeah.
So that side of my brain would like not allow me to do it.
Oh, so really like both sides were.
I need both sides functioning, and that's why I think I landed in
Got it.
marketing, because it really is like it's creative, at the same time it's very like database, it's technical and scientific.
Got it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I checked to make sure we're like not, people aren't going to yell at us later. But yeah, the
Is
left
it left
side is
side?
that logical side. So
Yes.
yeah, I can relate to that because I totally get it. Right, I like a little bit of both, or a
Yeah.
lot of both, but like not totally one or the other.
Yeah. I like both sides of my brain churning at all times, and I think that's why I kind of landed in the marketing path.
Yeah.
Like, it was like every step of my career was kind of like I learned something new. It was either like, oh, I was doing like business to business development, and then I would like learn something new in marketing, and then
Hmm.
I went to the nonprofit trade association, and there I like really learned about like kind of like contact handling. um
Got it.
yeah, so like every step of my career I just kind of like learned something more and added to the marketing portfolio.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. And just like each little experience, you gather a little bit more information, and then
Right.
eventually you're just like, actually, was there any moment where you're kind of like, oh yeah, marketing?
I think it was that when I started working for a general contractor in Maryland, I
Hmm.
was like, oh, this is exactly what marketing is. It's understanding your audience and being able to like articulate something to an audience and express like you have a service that you can provide. And it's not because you want to sell the service, but it's because the client needs the service. I think that clicked, 10 years ago, whenever that was. And then
Yeah.
from that point on, I was like, oh, this is like an art and a science at the same time. And I just
Right.
kind of like stuck.
Right. I really liked your definition, by the way, just now of like, you just summarized marketing. It's like audience,
It,
communicating a point,
yeah.
and getting them information. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to repeat it because I'll just hit back 15 seconds when I listen to this later and be like,
There we
that's all I
go.
need to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. Where it just kind of like the pieces came together. And um, did you always know you were this left and right side thing? I mean, was there a point in time you kind of figured that out? Because I think for me, it was like high school, there was a little test you could take, which was like, are you left brain or right brain? And it puts a little dot on your brain on the screen to show you. And I took the thing and it was like in the middle. It's like, sorry, you're in the middle.
Exactly.
You
Same for
know?
me.
Yeah.
Same for me. Every time I take any of those type of like personality tests or whatever, I'm
Yeah.
always like that an anomaly. They're like, we don't really know what to do with you. Like you shouldn't go into art and you shouldn't go into science. You need to
Yeah.
figure out something that does both.
Yeah. They're like, you'd be a terrible artist. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you'd be a terrible mathematician. I
Right.
kind of like a little bit of both. Uh, yeah, personality test, and you mentioned that kind of thing. Have you done like the Myers-Briggs?
Mm-hmm.
They tricked me. I used to like, oh, I hate Myers-Briggs, and then they tricked me by rebranding it to 16personalities.com. I'm like, oh,
I haven't heard of this because
oh, you gotta
I
check it out.
actually like Myers-Briggs.
Well, I kind of do now a little bit, but like, so 16 personalities. I like all these tests, by the way. I love if they're kind of teaching me a little bit about myself. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I went to 16personalities.com. Sounds like an advertisement, but I went there and I was like, oh, this is neat. It's actually Myers-Briggs underneath it. And
That's
and
funny.
and so you're like, like, oh, that's some old school thing. No, they updated it. The challenge though is, and thankfully now they show a little bit of the spectrum, but your results, it's like ENTJ, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, the challenge with that, it's like one or the other. It's Boolean, like this or that. And I wonder if you bumped into this too. I think for me, one of them is like thinking versus feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, so you're a feeler. But when I look at the personality type of technically what it says I am, there's this funny video on YouTube of like this girl who is like completely that. She's like happy fun, and then there's her
Yeah.
roommate who's like super serious. But I'm like, I'm not exactly that completely happy fun girl on the example on YouTube. because when I looked at the results, it actually was like, oh, you're 51% feeling, but that means
Yeah,
I'm 49% thinking, and I'm like
right.
judging myself and not being able to, so it's interesting that there's actually that spectrum. And if you're in the middle, you're kind of like
Yep.
no man's land.
I know. It means you can either be nothing or you can be everything at the same time.
Yes. You all things,
All
right?
things.
Have you ever done Colby? Have you heard of that one?
No.
You should
Mm-mm.
definitely check it out.
Okay.
It's KOLBE.
Yep.
And instead of being a personality, which is like more of a preference, it's actually your instincts for tackling challenges.
Mm.
And what's interesting is it doesn't change, because a lot of these other ones will change over time. If you, I know DISC, if you're around a bunch of dominant people, you don't have to be, your dominance will be lower. Or if you need to be, it'll be higher. But Colby never changes. And they've been testing it for 30 plus years now. So what you
That's
get is what you
awesome.
get. And
I'm writing that one down.
yeah. I liked it so much. I actually went out and got like this 3-day training out in Arizona from Kathy Colby, and it's very interesting. But one of the takeaways from me on that one is, while there's 4 different things, like how much planning do you need to do before you take on a challenge? How much data do you need to gather? Do you need to research a whole bunch, or don't need any? I'm just going to go wing it. And there's that kind of stuff of like, oh, some people will just pick some ideas and go for it and try it out and try the next one, try the next one. Other people will plan, other people will research, and so
Right.
everyone's got their specialty. But what brought this up was in Colby, you have numbers instead. So like I'm a 4-3-9-3, but if you're in the middle, it's actually really cool. And so as I've looked at other people's results, there's actually like a unicorn result, which is if you're in the middle on all of them. It means you're not super any one of them, but it actually means you can adjust to be whatever's missing in the group. So it's like the
Hmm.
perfect team player is that middle Colby result.
And that's what you are.
No, it's not what I am. No. I have a 9. I'm 4-3-9-3. So I'm just massive on the quick start side, which means let's come up with some ideas and brainstorm, and let's just try some and then see what work.
Yeah.
Which can drive the planners crazy. So you got to understand
Right.
each other and that kind of thing. But yeah. So it just goes to show that you could just consider yourself, oh, I don't have a high score in anything. No. Like even the low number is a good thing. There's strengths across the board. It's not like one score is better than the other.
Yeah. I'm going to check it out. I think that's cool.
Yeah, let me know what you are. I instantly started Colbying people around me too, because what
Yeah.
ends up happening is if your number's 4 more different from the people you work with or you're married to, they will find you, like how you act in that particular situation as like you're an alien, and they're like, I don't understand you. You don't make any
Yeah.
sense to me, and you're deficient in this area. No, we're just different in this way we approach things.
Right.
Usually there's like a team where someone's the planner and someone deals with change. Like when the plans get thrown out the door, someone's like, oh, okay, well, this is what we can do. Because normally the planner's like freaking out because the plan is off, right? And so there's
Right.
different kinds of people, but you want a planner to be in the planner job, and you want the person who can adapt real quickly to be in something like a sales job. So there's all sorts of really strengths to it.
Very cool.
Colby. Yeah, I could talk all day about it. Hey, so question for you, hypothetical.
Yeah.
I may or may not have a time machine in New Hampshire, and you can't use it now because of COVID, but let's say, that's all done. You can borrow my time machine, go back in time, talk to yourself. You just graduated graphic design. You just graduated college, like,
Yeah.
nothing. And it's like, what would you tell yourself? Would you give yourself any advice? Like, do this, do that, don't do this?
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah. That's why I wait till the end to ask it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like how my career has played out. I feel
Yeah.
like marketing is a good fit for me, like a really great fit for my personality. Um, but I think I could have sped up the process in reaching that conclusion
Mm,
if I would have just known better, right? So like the reason I kind of came into it is because I kept asking like the why questions. Like
mm.
design was never enough, right? So like I always wanted to know like why are we doing this design and what is it for, and
Right.
you know what I mean? So like if I would have known better, I think I probably would have had a faster track into marketing as a career. So I don't know that that's really like giving
No,
myself
it's
advice, but
smart.
like,
Could
yeah,
you convince yourself to figure that out? How would you do
I
that?
mean, I think so. I don't know. I mean, I probably would have like started looking like in an ad, like working in-house at an ad agency or something right
Yeah,
away. Um, and I didn't really experience that until like probably halfway through like the career that I have now.
sure.
Um, that's like you could like really gain a lot of experience working at an agency and understanding both the client side, the in-house side, and kind of like what are all the facets of marketing that fit together. Like I feel like you learn all of that in an agency, so I probably would have like maybe sought employment at an agency at the
Yeah,
onset of my career. But like now that I'm in-house at an, I've always worked in-house actually, and partnered with ad agencies, like I never would want to go back. I think it's amazing that those people have those careers, and I have a lot of
yeah,
friends that work for agencies, but it's a different pace.
yeah.
It's definitely a different pace.
Different
um,
world.
it's a different world. And not only that, I also feel like once you're in an agency, you kind of like find your focus area and like that's where you live. And I
Mm.
like being in house where I can kind of like see like the comprehensive marketing picture.
That's a really good point. Yeah, agencies tend to be focused and have a specialty or something,
Right.
whereas you sometimes need to do everything when you're marketing out. Like,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah,
And you find the external help like in an agency if you need it, right? Like you have the flexibility to do that when you work in house.
right. And I see the value of trying those. Whether you're an agency, you should try the client side, try because to your point, like you may speed up finding your specialty, or
Right.
after being in a specialty for a while, realize I kind of want to do a little bit everything and kind of mix it up and keep it keep me on my toes and try a
Right.
little bit of everything.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. Do you keep up the painting? Do you keep up any of the art things? And
Yeah, I
now that you're
do. Yeah, so
adulting?
I have two boys,
Oh,
two
awesome.
children, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So they keep me on my toes and I don't have a lot of free time. Before
Yeah,
I
like
had
no
them,
free time. Yeah.
no free time whatsoever. And I love every second of it. So I think like eventually maybe when they get a little bit older, I'll get back into like drawing or something, but
Yeah.
not a lot of time for it now.
You'd be surprised because like with my kids, my wife also likes like the painting, art, and just stuff like that. So with the homeschooling, she's had more of a chance to expose them to it. She gets to be the art teacher.
Yeah.
They did this project where they all painted on these little, a little bit larger than a postcard, little tiny
Hmm.
canvases or whatnot. And she taught them, and they were using like wire brushes and stuff, and
Yeah.
little Monets, right? Little things were like
Yeah.
the lilies and stuff.
Oh,
And then I'm like,
that's
how
so
did you
cool.
do that? And we did a little art auction this weekend.
Yeah.
So, and and a part of the proceeds were going to go for them to like earn stuff, and
Oh,
then the other part was to like go to the school for art supplies.
oh, that's
And so
amazing.
they painted these different things over time, and then they had an art show, kind of like an art auction. And my wife was like the auctioneer, and she'd be like, "Okay, this is lot number 4, you know, whatever my son or daughter called it." And they're like, "Okay, this is water lilies in the fall." And Lizzie, what were you thinking when you created this thing? We got it all on Facebook Live, so it was like she was like, "Oh, la 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 la," and I was the cameraman, and it was awesome. And then we had people bidding on
Yeah.
Facebook. It was like a silent auction. And my parents picked up a couple pieces. Some of our family friends did.
Yeah.
There's little bidding wars going on in some of them too. They're like,
That's
nope, nope,
amazing.
I want that thing. Hard pass on letting you get it. I want that water lily. It was
I'm taking
cool.
that idea. I'm stealing that idea.
Do it, please. Yeah, let me know how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah.
And what kind of art comes from it.
Yeah.
And I'll send you some photos too of like what some of the things they did. Some didn't even make it into the auction because like both of us were like, hard stop. We're not getting rid of that
I
because
love that.
it's amazing. And like the grassy hill had all these different colors layered into it. We're like, and like I don't know the magic. I don't understand it. But somehow
Yeah.
they did it, and it was just like blown away by it. So yeah, definitely
That's
steal that idea.
amazing. Yeah, I will. I actually, so while you were talking, I realized on my desk I have a piece of art from my oldest son. So
Really?
I'm going to show it to you right now.
Yeah, yeah. Hold it up. Really? Is that like clay?
It's clay and it came in a kit. So like, he's 4 years old. He can't like create a
Oh no,
skeleton
no.
structure, but like this is what he made for me for my desk. And he made sure to keep part of the skeleton revealed.
Yes, yes. There's something to that. So it's like this.
Cool factor.
It's like a purple blue horse.
I think
Purple.
it's a unicorn.
Oh, is it a unicorn?
I
And it's
think
got a cool
so.
like light blue mane. Yeah, yeah. People check it out on
Yeah.
YouTube. So anyone that's listening, YouTube, we got the video. But yeah, that's cool. And I have the skeleton underneath.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what
It's
it was
cool.
called?
Gosh, what is it? It's
I'll steal
something,
the idea back because John would totally
yeah.
dig the skeletons and stuff.
Woody, I'll have to find it. And if I don't
Okay.
remember it by the end of this, then I'll send you a note. It's
Okay.
like some
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
creative. I found it on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Skeleton horse with
Yeah.
Play-Doh thing. That's cool. That is really neat. I think we're
Yep.
getting creative these days when we're just at home with kids and
Yeah.
and I think we found that, I don't know if you've seen this too. Um, wow, like when you have a parent teaching a kid, you can get a lot more done super fast, be
Yep.
done by the afternoon. It's just like 10 times more work, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
It's tough. But I could
Right.
see how in the old days you're like, yeah, just learn by the fireplace and we'll just teach you what we
Right.
know.
Well, the one-on-one interaction, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't replace that.
No, you can't.
Right.
You can't get away with as much.
Yeah. Right.
But you can go outside and we were using Legos for math instead of drawing sticks, so it
Yeah.
was cool. It was really cool.
That is cool.
Sweet. Well, this has been fun. Where can people connect with you if they want to like harass you, learn some more stuff,
Yeah.
just connect? LinkedIn, what places are good?
Yeah, so I think for me, I'd say visiting the Aronson LLC website. It's aronsonllc.com. My contact information is on there. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also reach me by email, CHANKEY@aronsonllc.com.
Cool. And just so people know why I'm crazy and keep saying it wrong, it's spelled ARONSON.
Yeah,
um,
Aronson.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So people connect with you. We'll put all that in the show notes so people can just click and get onto that. And if we do figure out the Play-Doh thing at any point, we'll link to that too.
Yeah, definitely.
As well.
That
Carrie,
sounds
this has been
good.
awesome. What do you
It's been
think?
great. It's been great. This is my first podcast experience. I thought it was good. It was good to talk through it's just good to talk about marketing.
Yeah, no, it's good to talk about it. And first of all, you survived. Second of all, it was awesome because I mean, I've learned a bunch of things just from just listening and kind of
Good.
collaborating and chit-chatting with you.
Same.
And to the people listening, if you've learned something, and I know you have, because I literally have page and a half of notes over here, then share this with someone else, right? Be a thought leader to like 8 people, 14 people, however many people you have on LinkedIn. That could be like 400. You don't even know it, but share this information. And the best way to do that is to listen to the show, put it in your own words. What did you learn? What takeaways did you have from this? I know my takeaways are from my notes, the audience, the verticals, BD, and all the different things we talked about, the visualization, contact management. But what were your takeaways, right? So put your takeaways up on LinkedIn, link to the episode, definitely hit Carrie up on LinkedIn or email. Don't be a weirdo. Tell her where you heard her. Podcast, because we get a lot of LinkedIn spam these days. So definitely do that. And again, Carrie, thank you again for coming on here. This has been so much fun.
Thanks for having me, Casey. This was awesome.
So
Perfect.
cool. So cool. We'll have to have you come on back on here and we'll talk more about everything else later on after we get out of the COVID thing and we all survive that. So
Sounds good. Will
yeah.
do.
All righty. Well, hey,
Cool.
this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show, everyone. We will catch you all next time. All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors, Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see you all in the next one.